No. They are not. The Bible Torah identifies its people. Starting in Genesis with the covenant. The biblical Israelites must match the description in the Torah or they are not Israel. DNA is not in the Torah. The Torah marks its people to be assigned to the world. Gen 15:12 And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and, lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. Gen 15:13 And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Gen 15:14 And also that nation, whom they shall serve, will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. So find the people that match. If you say that the 400 years ended when the Israelites left Egypt with Moses, then you must prove that a covenant can start with the punishment for breaking it. If you say that the 430 years include the 400 years from Gen 15:13, then you must prove that Gen 13:15 is wrong when it mentions a single nation and when it says 400 years. Also, since Abraham got scared and did not walk through the cut meat or blood, how could the covenant be in effect yet before or during the 430 years? You would need to prove this in the Torah. The promise was made to Abraham, the covenant was sealed by Israel. Back to his dream. If Dew 28 is not describing the terms of the covenant and some of the horror Abraham saw in his dream for his descendants breaking the covenant, then where is it described? Did God's word return void? The Israelites walked through the blood that was on the doorpost in order to leave Egypt. If this does not seal them in the covenant by passing through the blood, then you must explain, according to how covenants work, when the covenant was sealed. If Dew 28 is not describing the conditions of the contract of the covenant, then you must identify where in the Torah it is. This should only be a biblical debate. Find the people the Torah Bible identifies. The people the world calls Jewish do not fit. Christians do not fit. This is how we know we are in the end times. After 4,000 years of history, there is only one people that match. The African American people. The only people to match Gen 15 and Dew 28. And all the other indicators. One would need to prove a better match. You would be uncovering a people unknown to the world. The modern Jews or Israelis are not related to the ancient Jews of Palestine or the 12 tribes of Israel. These modern Jews are Europeans whose ancestors had converted to Judaism. Their history in Europe is well known. The ancient Jews of Palestine, also known as Israelites, were the children, grandchildren and descendants of Jacob, whose second name was Israel. Jacob was a son of Isaac and twin brother of Esau. Jacob migrated to Egypt never to return. His descendants the Israelites remained in Egypt. 400 years later, an Egyptian pharaoh began to enslave the Israelites who were already half Egyptians. Many of the Israelites had married Egyptian women. The Israelites, then led by Moses, decided to leave Egypt. On their way they were lost in the Sinai desert where they remained for 40 years. Moses left them because they continued to worship idols instead of God. The Israelites then entered Canaan illegally. They were hiding during the day and stealing, killing, putting houses and villages in fire during the night when everybody was fast asleep. The Canaanites called these invisible destroyers, Habar, which meant in the Canaanite language, terrorists. The word Habar later became Hebrew. So the Israelites became known as Hebrews. They spoke, of course, the Canaanite language which was spoken in Canaan. To your question, yes, Jacob had 12 sons who formed 12 tribes, known as the 12 tribes of Israel, but these 12 tribes have nothing to do with the modern Israel or Israelis. The real descendants of the ancient Israelites are the Palestinians, not the European Zionist Jews whose ancestors were converted Jews. Those Palestinian Israelites, later known as Jews, are part of the Palestinians' ancestors who converted to Islam in the 7th century CE. All Jews except Cohens and Levites have a Hebrew name that is suffixed with the Israelite, so named after Israel, previously Jacob, who had 12 sons. The children of Israel. The 12 tribes of Israel. Cohens and Levites have specific roles in Judaism and they have their own Hebrew name suffix. It is said that only the tribes of Judah and Benjamin exist today and that 10 tribes have been lost due to expulsion and massacre. This is unlikely as DNA testing shows lineage going back 3,000 years. So yes, all Jews are Israelites, descendants of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Israel,